people who enjoy audiobooks, there's an audiobook of the Book of
Yes,
Fear
there is.
that's going to be done.
I,
Coming, hopefully, we start recording the end of April. So that will be exciting. Those
I,
who prefer audio to physically reading or don't have the time to physically read and listen to audiobooks, well, yeah, one's on its way.
yeah, Janny is just. I'm reading Ships of Meria sort of on and off right now. I tend to read a chapter in one go, and then I spend some time in different books, and then I come back and read another chapter. I'm also
Yep.
reading Gallant right now, the
Mm-hmm.
Gallant, and that one's very
Yep.
interesting.
I've got it. I haven't read it yet.
I've read the first couple chapters, yeah. So I'm only about 10% in, and
Okay.
it's very interesting because it's about Varane. I got to remember,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just this. Without having any spoilers, he's this really kind of effusive kind of personality, throwing himself over this lady that he's partnered with for the evening, and he's a complete gentleman, but it's incredibly kind of really over the top, and so it's
Yeah.
been rather amusing. But then it's interesting because I've been talking about it with Janny, and she said this isn't just this kind of fun romance. It kind of grows to so much more because obviously he is in a very different place when we see him
Yeah.
in Austin
In
Mistral.
the main series, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of at the cusp of where it's kind of just growing a little bit wider. But I love I'm loving book 2 right now with the humor in it. Janny's
Mm-hmm.
humor is really it's this kind of really kind of bumbling kind of humor. Um
Yeah. And it can be quite pointed at times as well.
Sorry?
It can be quite pointed at times as well.
Yes, and it's just amazing how it's all wrapped in as well. So you're chuckling along, and then suddenly these events kind of all come together, and you suddenly realize this wasn't just some kind of fun, foolish diversion. This was actually kind of almost
There
destined
was a
to happen.
there was a point to it, yeah.
Yeah, and that just kind
Every
of blew
single thing
away.
in her books, everything in her books has a point. It may
Yeah.
seem throwaway, it may seem like a side thing, but every single bit has a point.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just I'm really loving book 2, and if you haven't read or if you're just starting to read it, Steve Talks Books. He's got a great well, he's got his YouTube channel, but I listen to the podcast on my way home. They've done 1 to 5 with him and a few others. If you know Chibipo, he's been
Mm-hmm.
on a few of them. He's been around in the Janny Wurts community a lot,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they've just done their second episode with chapter 6 to 10. It's a really interesting conversation, and they got Chris Mohan there as well, and a few others, and it's so
Mm-hmm.
wonderful to see it kind of grow. I mean, what's it like being someone that's been there since the beginning, and now in the last couple of years?
It's really exciting.
Yeah,
I mean, for a long time, Janny, I mean, she's got a traditional publishing contract, but for different uh, spans of years, it felt like she was kind of on the in the wilderness of Fantasyland or the genre readers. Like they know of her because of Raymond Weiss, but they don't go and buy her main books. And to see people reading them and talking about them now, something that I've been reading and loving since it came out in the mid-90s. It's fantastic. I'm so happy for her, especially as she's just finishing the last book of this massive series.
Yeah.
And it's like, great, you've got readers. There are people who are actually going to talk about it and are excited to get on and have you on their podcasts and their YouTube channels and talk to you about your books and the stories and the characterizations, the depth of your prose, all that stuff. Is just brilliant. And she's so deserving of it. I'm really, really happy for her.
Yeah, and she's such, wonderful, wonderful, really kind-hearted,
Yep,
just human,
she is.
she sent me a Christmas card this year, which was really
Oh,
funny.
cool.
Yeah, and it was really wonderful. It's so, so kind. And it was I can't remember if it was her or Don that illustrated it, but it was one of
Yeah,
um
yeah.
uh, I mean, it's just amazing. She's just like a one-woman machine, writes and she's been telling me
She's
about,
an artist as well. Yeah.
yeah, artist. She does her covers,
Mm-hmm.
and she's been, she's not had a particularly great time in the publishing industry,
Mm-hmm.
and she's had to kind of push a lot of things herself,
Yeah.
and to kind of face that adversity head on. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's just blown me away just how she does this.
Yeah.
I can see, even from the little bit that I've read, I can see a lot of the kind of inspiration that comes from her in your world, and
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Actually, it's really funny because I reread the Cycle of Fire trilogy last year, and rereading that, I was realized, oh, okay, there's a lot more inspiration from Janny and her work in mine than I remembered, because all of a sudden I'd forgotten all this stuff from Cycle of Fire, and as I was reading, I was like, oh, I remember this.
it was funny because
Right, okay.
when I remember listening to podcasts with Blaze, underrated SFF, and hearing you talk about your book and about the half brothers
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
photo, and I suddenly thinking, oh, this sounds. And I was reading Cursed at the time. I think I was thinking, oh, this
yeah.
is
But
very
funnily
similar.
enough, it wasn't Arathan and Lysae that I was thinking of when I developed Kyle and Darian. I was actually thinking of Raslan and Karam and Megere, the twins from Dragonlance. And
Yeah,
I suppose if you want to look at tropes or what is it? I can't remember the phrase. Archetypes, Thor and Loki.
yeah.
So yeah, reading back and going, oh yeah, I love Wars of Light and Shadows, one of my favorite series. And oh crap, yeah, Arathan and Lysae are half brothers who have animosity between the two of them. But Kyle and Darian didn't grow up with that. It didn't have the same kind of growing up childhood as Arathan and Lysae did. So they grew up together, um, and they're very much brothers. So
Mhm.
um, that familial relationship.
Yeah, and I think, it's not necessarily, a bad thing that when authors use kind of well-versed archetypes of the genre. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's more about kind of what you do and how you transform that. And I
Yeah.
mean, right now I've been in a really kind of Nordic kind of inspired
Mm-hmm.
bent, and I'm reading a lot of these worlds that are very similar in the kind of broad sense that they are kind of inspired by the Norse sagas and the Vikings and
Mm.
this and that. And some of them are out and out kind of retellings of Loki and Thor and those
Yeah.
stories, myths. Some of them are more just kind of like inspired by that setting. But they're all very, very different. And it was interesting because I was thinking, oh, am I going to get kind of bored of this? Or are they all going to be two the same, kind of reading these similar ones at once? But no, it's been really interesting kind of comparing them, seeing, for example, Matt Larkin's books, fantastic. I read the first
Yeah.
one,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing that and his retelling. And then I've started Northern Wrath by Tilda Cold Holt. And that's another retelling of kind of like the Nordic myths.
Yeah.
And almost it's inspired by that, but they're very, very different, and it's really interesting kind of reading that at very similar times and seeing the contrast. And it really is about what you as an author do, and how you take those
Yeah.
archetypes and work with them. And yeah, and I mean, it looks really cool, this book. It sounds really cool, and the cover, the covers just blown me away. I mean, you can just look at. I've got to find the right spot. I mean, look
Yeah.
at, guys. That was what first introduced me to it, and there was that I think it's a dragon. Is it on the
Yeah.
front, or
Yeah.
that
Yeah. An undead dragon.
body, the dragon skull? That was really what kind of captured my eye. And then I saw it as Felix Ortiz, and I was,
Yeah.
I think I saw it on Petrix. Was that?
Yeah. He did cover reveal,
Yeah,
and
that's where I saw
yeah.
it. Yeah, that
Yeah.
must be where I saw it, and that
Yeah.
was what first kind of got me onto your books.
Yeah.
So it really is true, kind of what they say about seeing a book
Cover.
cover,
Yeah.
because that really kind of put it right at the, oh, I want to read this. And as soon as I saw, it was on sale or something, I was like, I'm getting this,
Yeah.
and I've had it ever since. And I'm
Excellent.
definitely looking forward to getting to it very,
Well,
very soon.
when are you putting this up?
Probably tomorrow. I'm probably just gonna
Because I'm in the indie April sale, and Blood of the Spear is on sale ebook, 99 cents
probably
from
tomorrow.
April 1st to 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah, literally tomorrow. Well, there you go, folks. When you're watching this, you can get Mark's book in the indie fantasy book sale for
Yep.
just 2 days, 3 days.
Three
So
days.
check
Yep.
it out.
99 cents on Amazon. Yep.
Couldn't have
And
fit
I've done
better.
it for all regions as well.
Oh,
So
brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm worried about. I think I'm gonna have to keep when I go to Asia and then across to Australia,
yeah.
New Zealand. I think I'm allowed to keep my Amazon UK account, because otherwise I'm thinking.
Oh, don't change it, because you'll lose all the stuff that's not available here or in Australia that is available in the UK that you may have. It's just a whole thing. It's a nightmare. And it's always so frustrating for me living in Australia, where I see these indie authors, oh yeah, this is up on sale for 99 cents. And I go to the store in Amazon Australia, and it's like, no, it's not. It's like they've got it on sale in the UK and the US. That's it. It's like, okay, thanks
Yeah.
guys.
It's like the world is beyond the UK and the US.
Yeah.
Like,
And look, I feel I'm still trying to get as many readers as I can, so I want to make it easy for people. So
yeah, so absolutely, definitely check it out. And there's so many wonderful books on sale there. I meant to be on a book buy and bam, but I'm pretty sure I'll end up buying a book or two. I
well,
believe.
they're Kindle though, so
Well, yeah, and I think there are some free ones as well in there. So
yes,
definitely
there probably are.
worth
Yeah,
checking
100%.
out.
Yeah.
Because I always love to have a book free on 99 cents or
Mhm.
99p, wherever currency it is.
Yeah, yeah.
I always. That's the thing. You kind of think, oh, 6.99. I got to think about this. 99p. Yes, please. 10 of these.
Yeah, yeah, right. It
Yeah, I
does
mean,
make a
oh yeah, it's
difference.
just another pound, and then just yeah. I don't know where it all goes, but
That's right, you're on books.
yeah, it'll probably be a good thing when I go to Australia, because I remember when I went to New Zealand, and at the time I was just getting to Stormlight, I was getting to Brandon, so I was reading Mistborn at the time, yeah,
Mhm.
and I was really just getting into fantasy, and it's amazing looking back how naive I was, and I thought, oh, I'm a big fantasy fan. I read the first book or two of Real Time, and I'm reading Brandon Sanderson. Oh, I'm a
Yeah,
massive fantasy fan. And now I look back and I think, oh, I was so naive, because now I've read so much beyond that, and it's interesting how it's changed. My
yeah.
Brandon used to be my favorite author, and I
Mhm.
still love Brandon. His latest book, I didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much, unfortunately. But other than that, he's still one of my favorite authors.
Yeah,
But I think he's top now, which is crazy, because when Rhythm of War came out, I was literally waiting. I got for my birthday. It's kind of a tradition. I get a Brandon Sanderson book for my birthday, because they
yeah.
tend to come out. Well, they come out about a few weeks after my birthday, but I get my mum to buy me a Sanderson book, and I was waiting for Rhythm of War, and I got a signed edition. He does the Well Builders charity, I think it is,
Right.
and you can pay extra to get it signed. But it's coming from the US. I got it from Weller Books Works in Utah, I think it is. Um, Salt Lake, and it was taking forever to come, and everyone was getting it. And I literally took a video of me like running around the garden screaming when I got it, but with it didn't record any sound. But there's a Snapchat that of me running around with my copy of Rhythm of War in the garden in Cornwall, screaming. And
with your mouth open.
yeah,
No
literally.
sound.
And now I look back and I think, wow, like I would never do that now. I'm really excited for the next Stormlight. Unfortunately, I've got to decide: am I going to get a hardcover or a Kindle? It's probably going to be Kindle because it's coming out in November, which is when I'm leaving, and I'm literally taking the bare minimum. So,
Yeah, you
I
can't
think I won't get a hardcover, but it's
you
interesting.
can't leave your physical books
Sorry.
somewhere when you go traveling. You
I'm
can't
probably
leave
gonna
your
keep them with
physical
my
books.
dad's. I might
Yeah,
try and sell couple, but I really want to keep all of them, especially ones authors have sent me and ones with such
mm,
amazing covers. Um, I think I really want to keep most of them.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm really now every physical book or physical arc I accept, I'm really kind of thinking about now about that ticking
yeah,
clock. Um,
yeah. No, that's fair. You want to be deliberate. Yeah,
Yeah, but back to the story. So I was reading Sanderson at the time. I was going to New Zealand, and I remember going there, and as all of us readers, avid readers do, we always look for bookstores wherever we go. And I
yes,
remember thinking, goodness, like, well, I mean, a the prices because they only have what's the equivalent, I guess, of Waterstones over there. I can't remember the
I,
name of
I
it.
don't know.
Uh,
For New Zealand, I'm not sure.
yeah. And then that was like the chain bookstore. And then there's maybe like one independent bookstore I saw in
Yeah,
Christchurch. And I was shocked by how difficult it's really difficult to get books in New Zealand. Australia, you have Amazon, it's a bit easier, even if it's a bit
mm,
expensive. But New Zealand, back in 2018, 19,
yeah,
it was like really hard to get a book for a decent, even to get just to get a book. Like they
yeah.
don't have bookstores really. It shocked me. And now I'm like
No,
much more of a reader than I was back then. Like I said, I was
yeah,
literally reading Sanderson, and now I'm like 10 times the reader I was, like reading 10 times the amount. And now I'm like, not dreading. I really want to go back, but now I'm thinking, oh gosh, am I? I didn't really notice it at the time. Like it didn't really bother me that the fact there was no
yeah,
was on and things. Now I'm thinking, oh gosh, I'm going to spend 18 months there. What am I going to do
yeah.
about
Well,
books?
I mean, you, yeah, and you don't want to do physical books when you're traveling, so they'll have to be
I
Kindle.
know. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to be settling down. The plan is to go to Queenstown first, and so
Uh-huh.
if they, I mean, I respect and I think it's really cool that they don't have Amazon out there. It's just a shame in a way because if they had Amazon, I know you can get some stuff from Australia delivered there, but I could have, got secondhand copies of stuff like Wars Light and
You
Shadow.
can get stuff delivered to Queenstown.
Yeah,
100% you can.
yeah.
Amazon deliver everywhere in Australia.
So I might, try when I'm settled down for 3 months. I can definitely get a book and then maybe I can leave it in the
Mm,
bookcase or whatever in the hostel and things.
yeah.
So
Donated to
I
the
might,
local library.
yeah, but yeah, it's gonna be mostly Kindle. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I totally get that traveling. I love my physical books, but I mean, number one, I'm running out of space. And number two, some of the prices these days, it's like,
oh, it's
I don't
actually
know if I'm gonna to spend all the money on a physical book, so I'll buy the ebook first, and if I love
yeah,
it, I'll turn around and buy the physical book because I have to have it on my shelf. If
yeah,
it's a book that I love,
oh
I have
yeah.
to have it.
Unless it's like unless I've done some like overtime or has some extra money coming in, there's a cover I really like, or even if there's a cover I really like, sometimes I'll just buy it. Like Sons of Darkness, and I am so glad I bought that. I don't know if
Before
you
the
have,
stuff with the publisher
yeah.
and yeah,
Imagine not that I'm gonna sell it or anything, but imagine how much this like if it
yeah,
sells well, and I've got one of the only kind of original books. It'd be interesting
yeah,
to kind of see how it changes, whether there's kind of like new editing done on it as it goes from indie to
yeah.
trap. Because I know we've seen a few people do that recently with Travis Baldry. We had
Mhm.
Justin Lee Anderson with the Lost
Yeah,
Wars that's come out, I think. And there's an interesting
yeah,
story I heard. think it was on Steve's channel with My here, and I think it was John Palladino and uh, oh, Chris G. Brenning, and they were talking about how sometimes, or actually fairly often, you get indie books that have done really well in Swiftbow, and they've got amazing indie covers, and then the publisher brings out a new cover.
Oh yeah, totally.
So much
Totally. Yeah.
worse, and it's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah, because their marketing department says covers need to be in this particular style for the general public to pick it up.
which is crazy. And then their books, don't sell as well because partly, I guess, because the cover is not as great. And then they're going,
Yeah.
oh, the publishers just drop them, and
Yeah.
it's
The
crazy.
sales aren't there. Yeah.
It's
It
crazy.
is.
I mean, as an indie author, it's really, I think, if you can, work at it and treat it a little bit like a business, which I think something I've heard
Yeah.
Ryan Hay talk about a few times. Like, it's really possible to do really, really well. Not everyone will, and of course, there's not enough, room for everyone to be
Yeah.
Will White, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, or someone like that. But you can do much better from doing indie than trad, and I mean,
Yeah, and you have more control over it as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's not always a good thing.
Well,
That's not always a good thing. Some people need somebody else to, their talents lie in the writing, not in the other stuff.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so it can be tough.
Yeah.
When I finish a book, I have absolutely no idea what should be on the cover. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's like when I contacted Felix and he was available, and then we started talking about, well, what's going to be on the cover. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to ask
It's
how that
like, yeah,
start. Yeah.
it's like, so then we started talking about my favorite artists, my favorite, what's my story about? Are there any scenes that I feel that could be, and I had no idea, but I spoke to one of my editors, and she just, like, off the top of her head, she listed 5 different scenes, including the scene that's on the cover. She was like, you could do this, you could do that. How about this one? What about this? I'm like, oh, okay. I don't see those particular scenes. As the writer, I don't like these.
Mhm.
When I'm in it, they don't stand out to me. They're just stuff that's like back and go, oh, that was there. But like they don't pop to me as a writer. Like, oh, that's not the right word. You never read the work that you've done the same way somebody who's reading it and hasn't written it will read. So I don't always know what's going to be like, that's going to be an amazing cover. Sometimes I'll have too many favorite things in my head. And then other times I'm just like, I don't know which one to choose. What do you reckon? So having somebody else give me suggestions of those things was really good. And then we kind of like that particular scene that's on the front cover was inspired by a scene from a Forgotten Realms book that was on the front cover of the Forgotten Realms book.
Yeah.
The book is Spellfire by Ed Greenwood. So if you go check that out and then look at my cover, it's like that was the inspiration for the scene. And then Felix and I were talking about that. So he was like, oh, let me give that one a go. And he brought the undead dragon to the front. So
I mean, it's just so eye-catching, and Felix is just wonderful.
he's brilliant. He is
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. And
best
Sean
part.
T. King, who did the cover design, the
Yeah,
fonts and all that stuff. Yeah,
yeah, it's amazing the way that it's laid out at the top.
yeah,
It's just really
yeah.
nice. Yeah, it's funny because so many people think of them as a double act because
Yeah, they should be. I
they're
swear to
not.
God.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it should be a Ortiz
Join
King
forces.
Productions or something.
Yeah, it's like Kramer and Redding. It's you just can't
Yeah,
talk about the other.
yeah. No, they should totally start a company together.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be doing my covers and for the rest of the series, so there'll be a team there.
Did you have any
And
idea
because
of the next cover potentially, or is it still a
no, I kind of think of stuff, but I don't know 100%. Well, the title is The Pillars of the Sky. Um, and I'm trying to think of scenes, but obviously I haven't written all the scenes yet.
Mhm.
So I'm not 100% sure what might be a good representation for the book, for the front cover, but we'll come to that.
So for readers that have read book one, Blood of the Spear, what can
Uh-huh.
you kind of expect that's slightly different and unique to book two? Is it expand the world more or
It does expand the world more. They'll get to learn more about the magic system, more about the summoners and the difference between the summoners and the Suralis, and more about the demons and the demon queen who prophecy says is returning, and a new empress has been born. Um, and yeah, the return of the summoners.
uh,
That's all coming. It's all going to
how
happen.
many books is it roughly?
Projected at the moment as 7 books. That's just the full series.
Uh-huh.
There may be 2 or 3 more novellas. So you got Starbinder, which is a loose prequel
Mhm.
to Blood of the Spear.
But
Can
you
be read before
recommend
or after.
reading that after,
After.
because that's what you
Mhm.
said to me, right? Yeah.
You'll pick up some Easter eggs if you read it afterwards. Oh,
Which I always like.
I think you will. Yeah. And yeah, at least 7 books in the main series.
Wow. And so you planning to kind of like write all seven in one go, or are you planning to just
Yeah. Oh,
do-
well, I guess it depends on a number of factors. It depends on how quick I get back. So I've decided that I think I took too much of a break between book 1 and book 2.
Mhm.
So I kind of feel like I need to, as soon as I finish book 2, I need to start looking at book 3 straight away, just to keep my own momentum going. However, there may be a novella between book 2 and book 3. We'll see. Um, I really, really, really want to write at least the first book in this progression fantasy idea I've got. So we might see. Maybe I'll take a side break and do that, or try and work it in to do that while, like, a part-time thing. Maybe one day a week I'll work on that. The rest of the time I'll work on the Eye of Eternity series. I don't know. We'll see. But I think probably my best bet is to focus just on the Eye of Eternity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
So, and then people who enjoy audiobooks, there's an audiobook of The Blood of the
Yes,
Spear
there is.
that's going to be done
I,
coming. Hopefully, we start recording the end of April. So that
Mhm.
will be exciting. Those
So,
who prefer audio to physically reading or don't have the time to physically read and listen to audiobooks, well, yeah, one's on its way.
I'm definitely going to be listening to that, and you shared with me the narrator, so I've had to listen to it on his website and some of his
Oh,
songs.
yeah. Okay.
Wonderful. I'm
Yeah, I thought so
excited.
too.
And he's a fan, if I remember correctly. You were saying,
Yes, he is. So the narrator I'm talking to at the moment, his name's Eric Brian Moore, and he reached out to me on Twitter. He was reading Blood of the Spear not long after I released it, and he was like, "Hey, I'm a narrator, and if you have any plans to make this an audiobook, please let me know. I'd love to audition." So when I decided, yes, we need to do this, I reached out to him to see if he was still interested, and he is, and did an audition piece for me, which I loved. And so yeah, he's got the manuscript, and he's also going to do, so it's going to be the Blood of the Spear, and at the back of it will be Starbinder as well.
"Oh, awesome!
S- Yeah, so it will be a combined. They're going to be released as one. Um, Kind of like what the with his book 1 and the fall
Oh, yes,
before
yeah."
they put the fall at the back. So I'm going to do the same with I thought that was a good idea, so I'm stealing it. Thanks, Ryan. And I'm going to put Starbinder at the back of Blood of the Spear audiobook.
Yeah, I think readers kind of really appreciate that. It's like kind of something a little extra. Sometimes they have, like interviews with the authors afterwards or
Mm.
something like that. So I think readers really like something extra. And this is going to be a long audiobook, which
Yeah.
fans of long audiobooks will like. I'm the kind
I
of person that,
think it's going to be around 22 hours is what we were looking at.
okay, you know
Yeah.
what? That's shorter than I thought, to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be about 26 hours. So, well, I'm looking
Oh,
forward
it
to
may
it.
be. It may be. Um,
I'm
but
very much,
audio narrators charge per finished hour. So,
yeah, yeah. The shorter the better.
well, yeah,
Well,
for me, it's at least up front.
you know what? I always sort of think it must be so almost the authors must think, oh, I pay so much per hour to get narrators to do this, and then everyone listens to it on double speed.
Oh God, yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah, I'd never do that myself. I
I
listen to a lot of audios, but I never change the speed.
I can't go above 1.4, 1.5 as an
Right.
absolute maximum. Really depends on the rater. I also can't listen to it on 1.0. It's just too like slow for me. Most
Really?
time I think,
Some narrators are. Yeah.
yeah. I think the slowest I've listened to one like all the way through is 1.1. I
Okay.
always start on, just standard speed just to get the sense of it. But I think part of it is because I want to get through as many books as possible. Part of it is just because that's the way that, especially if I'm doing like what do you call it, like immersive reading,
Mm.
and what's going on, like seeing it and what's going on in my listening to it, like it's much faster reading it, seeing it than it is listening to it, and it doesn't quite
Yeah.
match up to the speed in my head. But anything above
Yeah.
1.5 as an absolute maximum is just,
Right.
I mean, I know Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads, he listens to everything like 2 times. I don't, it's just gobbledygook to me. But
Yeah.
it's so funny when you listen to it on a like 1.3 or something like that. And
But
then
Andrew also kind
reset.
of runs.
So
Andrew himself kind of runs at a pretty high speed,
he
so
does.
maybe
I
that
can't
works.
even
Yeah.
do that. The problem is I get burnt out when I do that. I tried to do the indie Accord, no, the Keymark Discord readathon in January, and I wanted to be. I was being ambitious because I was reading Hob, the first bit of Assassin's Apprentice. That's like 420 pages. Cahill, I wanted to read a War and Ruin. I wanted to get it in there. That was 1,400 pages on the Kindle. I think it's about just about 1,000 in the hardcover.
Mm.
Then I read a novella, which was Zoo by AC Cross. That was a good one. That's 40 pages. I read
Yeah.
Just Things. That was 400 odd pages. Fantastic book. I love that series. If you haven't read
Hmm.
it,
Which
so
one?
good. Um, it's called the Empire of the Wolf trilogy
Okay.
by Richard Swan. He's
Oh
not,
yeah, yeah.
he's in Australia. He's British. Fantastic. I'm reading Tyranny of Faith right now. Oh my god, it's just so good, Mark. Yeah, it's really, I didn't really know much about it going in, and it was so hyped, and I set my expectations low because the hype was so high.
Yeah.
Threw it out of the water. I
Cool.
blasted through that, and then I was also trying to read one other book. Um, there's one other book I was trying to read, and I just got burnt out. I got nearly 50% through War and Ruin, but that was like 700 pages, something like that. And I just got, when I read that consistently, I can do it, and then I would just get burnt out, and it
Yeah.
completely threw my reading out of whack for a month. And
Yeah.
so I just need to learn to pace myself because I can't. Well, I can, and then I won't be able to read properly for like
Yeah. Yeah.
3
So I tend not to or worry myself about how many books I have yet to read. I'm always looking for the book that makes me want to just lose myself in its pages.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and for as long as possible. So the bigger the book, the better.
Oh, 100%. It's like earlier I was saying that people like long audiobooks. I found Matt Larkin by going
Yeah.
through and doing on the Audible website and seeing longest audiobook in fantasy and sci-fi, and
Yeah.
yeah, like loads of random ones that are kind of like different ones. It didn't really interest me. That like compilation of lots of military sci-fi books. It's not my
Yeah.
thing. And then there was Matt Larkin's one, 92 hours. I think it was in fact the long audiobook.
What? Really? Wow.
92 hours, because
Oh my
it's this
goodness.
whole 10-book series, 10,
Right.
9-book series in one go of the gods of the Ragnarok era. So I've listened to number 1, which is fantastic, and I'll listen to number 2 at some point. But I've got a lot of audio books that people have given me that I'm trying to read first.
Mm.
But I'll get back into it. And yeah, I'm really excited. I've got AC Cobble's Conspiracy coming up. I've also got
Mm-hmm.
Troy Knowlton just gave me one of Seekers, The Winds of Change, with Andrew Meredith, the fantasy author, narrating it. I've also
Yeah.
got Tiago's book coming up. Obviously, your book, I'm definitely going to have that, because I'll actually jump on that the second it comes out. I've got Jeff
Cool.
Bates' new book coming out.
Yeah.
So many. I got a bunch of the Wandering Inn books, which is the web
Right.
novel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I got the first 3 of those.
They're long ones.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to read them because it's really hard. I like long books, so that's why I was attracted to that. But also, I like books that they have an arc. I want it to be building to something, and it's really hard to find without spoilers. Is it building to kind of a big bad? I don't want a kind of. I don't necessarily enjoy books that are just kind of lots of events stitched together and it's not really
Yeah.
got a cohesive whole. I don't mind it if it takes its time to get there, but I want to feel the sense that something's looming in the background. For example, it
Yeah.
might take 7 books to get to the things coming down from the summoners, the demons and that. But like I don't mind that because it's building over the series,
Yeah.
But I do want to know that something is coming, that there is some kind of
There's going to be a payoff. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's going to end almost in like an Avengers kind of Endgame kind of fashion. It all comes together in this big
Yeah. Totally.
finale, which is why I do still really want to get to the end of Wheel of Time, because I want to read the last battle.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because I have been spoiled accidentally myself by some of that, but I not enough that it would ruin it. I don't think so.
No, because the actual experience of the book, or either physically or listening to the audio, it's different than picking up the bits that you get as spoilers. The
Yeah.
actual experience of doing it is different.
So do you have plans for lots of kind of like big battles and action, I guess, kind of?
I'm going to need to, so because I'm more of a magic person, I'm kind of have to do a bit more research in the big battles. But yes, there will be army battles coming up. There will be more personal small forces groups of people battles,
Yeah.
and there were those in book 1 as well. But there will be more of that in book 2 and 3. But yeah, larger groups of armies and realm forces, will be happening.
That excites me. So it's interesting. I'm not an action person because I do struggle to visualize things. At one point, I
Yeah.
thought I might have aphantasia. I don't. I think it's just it takes a lot for me to visualize
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I am, a very creative person. I do visualize, think about things in terms of, oh, how would I film this? But with
Yeah.
book, it does take a lot to get me there.
Right.
But something about, I guess, maybe having experienced it on film and stuff, and seeing it, seeing these Lord of the Rings and all these big battles, I want to see that, but in my head from a book.
Yeah.
And the only battle so far I've ever gotten chills from is in the Stormlight Archive series, and I'm still waiting for another kind of big battle to come along and give me that same kind of chills that you get when you see Theoden on the screen saying,
Yeah.
waiting for a red dawn, I want to
Yeah.
feel those emotions. Yeah, and it was amazing for me. I've still got a vlog that I need to put out of me that I need to finish editing and put out of me going to London to see Lord of the Rings for the first time in the cinema.
Yeah.
And well, I suppose you're experienced enough to have seen that in the cinemas yourself.
Yes, over the 3 years that it was released, every Christmas, me and a friend, we would go. We would have it. I think it was Boxing Day tickets. We went to see it. Yeah.
That's amazing. I remember seeing opening night of The Hobbit, and we went to a midnight screening at Uxbridge, or it ended after midnight. It's like 1 a.m. My mum vowed never again. But I was desperate to go to like the first screening. So but it was amazing seeing like Lord of the Rings for the first time on the screen. I went to the Prince Charles Cinema in London, and they did Lord of the Rings all-nighter. And I think Fellowship was, my favorite film personally is Return of the King, because you get all the payoffs. But Fellowship was the best experience, partly because everyone was asleep by the end, including me, but also because it was such a collective thing. I didn't realize how funny a film it was. There's something different about seeing it in the cinema with an audience, and I was kind of sat at the back. And I first got there, and I always normally pick the back of the cinema because normally it's the best kind of spot. You get tiered seating. Well, I hadn't realized that the Prince Charles doesn't have tiered seating. And so I got there and I'm sat at the back, and when the screen is like at the beginning, it's like quite small for the ad, and then it extends out for the movie. Well, at the beginning, I got in, it was like this big. It felt like that big, and I was thinking, I've made a mistake. I'm right at the back. People in front of me. I'm the only one that's here alone. Everybody else has brought their girlfriend or whatever, and I'm just back, and I'm not going to be able to see it properly. And then luckily, and I was thinking, because it was like, it was in 4K showing. Luckily, the film extends once the adverts end. Well, I don't think we had. Do we have adverts? I can't remember, because it's not, it's chain. It's an independent cinema that they just run stuff like this pretty much. And they did a kind of hype thing, and then the movie started, and everyone was really excited, and we were all laughing at the moments that are funny, and there were moments where we were kind of like clapping at the end, but it wasn't in a kind of obnoxious way that you can see in certain parts of the West, where it's kind of like whooping in the middle of it, and it's really annoying. It was kind of like, respectful, but also it really built that feel like, wow, we're fans. Pretty much everyone was watching this, and it really changed the way that the experience of watching that movie was. It felt like watching it for the first time again. And it was such a shame that I fell asleep probably about a quarter of the way through Two Towers, and I was asleep through most of Return of the King. So I want to go again, but it was an experience. Seeing it for the first time in the cinema with this 4K surround sound with a group of people, it's amazing.
I can imagine. Well, I can remember it was, I mean, I don't know that it was, I didn't see it in 4K, and it wasn't surround sound, but but just that whole go to the cinema and watch it. It was it was good. Yeah, it was.
I imagine for the time, what you saw was essentially the equivalent of 4K.
Absolutely.
Because that's how advanced it was. Whereas now it's advanced to 4K, but back then it was like top of its game. I mean,
totally.
They created that whole system massive for the battles, so that it could show like thousands of troops that had never been seen before,
Yeah.
I can only imagine what it must have been like seeing Gollum for the first time, for people, because the first really kind of proper motion capture live action character.
Yeah, CGI,
Yeah.
No, it was great. It was amazing. Absolutely.
Would you like to see your works using a fit a film or a TV mode, or do you think
maybe animation.
Okay, yeah.
Gosh, what is it?
Arcade.
Castle.
Oh, Castlevania.
Castlevania.
I haven't seen it, but
possibly something like that. I think. I don't know. I'm always scared. Oh, okay, so unpopular opinion. I hate what they did with Wheel of Time for
I don't think
television.
I think that's very popular.
Okay, so so I hate what they did with that, and I
need to finish it.
Yeah, I would. I'm not watching any more of it. I'm not watching season 2 or whatever else they do. I hope it fails. And that comes from a hardcore book fan. But yeah, so I'm kind of like, maybe if they did it as a animation, I'd be okay for my own work. I don't know. I mean, I love what they did for Game of Thrones and House of Dragons. Like visually, I thought that was spectacular. but yeah, they failed terribly for me with Wheel of Time on
Yeah,
television. So
it didn't
I don't
really.
know.
It's amazing. Yeah, I've been watching The Last Kingdom on Netflix with my dad over the last few months, and it's amazing thinking 'cause the first two series were made by the BBC, before it was made by Netflix.
Mm,
And looking back and thinking, goodness, they wouldn't have had much money for this. It's the BBC, it's not HBO,
yeah,
and it wasn't a co-production with HBO. It's just the BBC with themselves.
yeah,
It would have been a very shoestring budget for the show, but look at how realistic that was. Look at what they managed to do with that. Where I mean, I
yeah,
think it was helped by the fact that they didn't have to build sets. I believe they went to somewhere like Hungary and they had kind of like these kind of medieval
right.
sets already built. So they didn't have to spend money building the sets. Okay, fair enough. But like you look at Amazon and how many millions they invested, and it doesn't look realistic.
No,
It doesn't look real. Like I was looking at
no.
like I mean, it looks really cool, but it feels like they've plonked this set down. Like Emmons Field felt like they'd just plonked a bunch of
Yep.
these houses
I
down.
don't, and all the changes to the story they made were, I felt, completely unnecessary. But what I'm just a fan of books, so
Yeah, I
what
got
do
to
I know?
episode 3, I think. Like it was a perfectly, acceptable, watchable
It
show.
looked like
But
something the CW would do,
yeah,
and
it's
and that's fine if that's what you're expecting. But you've got at the time you had like Game of Thrones to compare it against, and it's like, really? You've been given all this money by Amazon, and this is the best you can get. And like, I watched the making of stuff, and the craftsmen that they got involved in the costume designing and all that are actually quite talented people. But the stuff that they were designing for me didn't translate to on the screen.
yeah.
So whereas the costume designers for Game of Thrones, those costumes were amazing. Like
Mm,
they were consistently like, wow, that's impressive. Um, and but for Wheel of Time, it was just like, okay. Um, and there was too many modern twists to it for me. I mean, I get the whole idea of like, oh, in the past, before the breaking, it was, a modern world run by the one power instead of electricity. It's like, okay, yeah, that's an interpretation, sure, but
yeah.
I just didn't. It didn't. Yeah, it didn't work for me.
Yeah, no, it is a shame. I do intend to get back and watch it as well as House of Dragons and also The Last of Us. I've kind of watched all of them a little bit. Same with Rings of Power. I think Rings of Power I prefer slightly more than Real Time,
Oh
slightly.
yeah, like visually, 100%, 100%. But
Yeah.
still, I wasn't a particular fan of that either.
No, no, I was kind of a little bit bored by it, but yeah, I do intend to at least get back to it eventually. But it's really interesting because it makes you kind of think, well, how would I do this? How would I adapt it? And I do
Yeah,
want, my dream one day would be to have I want to be a storyteller, not necessarily an author. I don't think I could do that, but I do want to tell stories. I do think I know about story structure and character from experience beta reading and things, and I've always been interested in film and TV, and
yeah.
I've got these ideas. I'm working on this audio drama right now that I'll be able to say more about soon, which reminds me I need to kind of review some stuff for that. Um, and I would love to be somebody that tells stories. So as part of my travels, I want to make cinematic travel videos and tell a
Okay.
story like that.
Yep.
But I want to be the kind of person that I could spend, it takes a long time to work in this stuff. So, 10 years on an adaptation of a book. And then I could take a break and go, right, I want to go make a documentary for the next 2 years. And then I'll go back to film and
So,
TV.
like a director?
Not necessarily a director. I want to be the person, I want to be intimately involved. I guess almost equivalent to a showrunner. So I'm not necessarily a
Okay.
director. I guess I'll be directing my stuff. But the kind of person that kind of pitches the idea. My dream ultimately would be to be the person that goes to indie authors and works with them to craft a show bible
Well,
and
yeah, you
go
are
to
positioning yourself well.
Yeah, and I'd love to basically be the person that works with these indie authors and goes to a production company, or maybe I
Yeah,
have my own, and I go to
the studios.
a studio and say, "Here's our thing,
Yeah,
here's our plan," and I would still like to be involved with production, but really I want to be the person that basically gets it off the ground and pitches it to the studio, whoever's making it, and really kind of is the person that kind of helps craft it and sets the tone and sets
yeah. So almost like a producer slash developer.
producers, developer, showrunner,
Yeah,
yeah, kind of
yeah.
thing. I mean,
Cool.
I would like to be involved in the directing, but I don't know enough about that right now. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah. That
yeah,
sounds very cool.
so I've got a lot of ideas that I'm working on, and a lot of people that kind of helping me behind the scenes and trying to get somewhere. And so it'll
Yeah,
be good that when I'm going traveling, it kind of affords me a little bit more time to kind of work on this stuff in the background. Then maybe by the time I come back, I might actually get somewhere in the industry, because it takes years, years. It really is who you know. And so I'm so
yeah,
grateful to John, the producer and creator of this audio drama that I've been working on, for giving me an opportunity, because this could really, be the start of something. I'm hoping.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, good luck. Yeah. Break a leg.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm really excited because the next month or so, hopefully, we'll have something to show you guys. Um,
Very cool.
and get this project off the ground. But yeah, but maybe someday we'll see your work in some animation. So
Maybe. I
maybe,
just hope to get it finished and have people buy it and enjoy it.
yeah. And I know that those that have read it have really enjoyed it. I mean, you have Janny Wurts, you have lots of others.
Yes.
Blaze has read it. And I know I'm pretty sure it's been on Andrew's channel. At least he's shown it off.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Um, so it's wonderful. Yeah, it's definitely one that's known in the community, but hopefully with this audiobook,
Yeah.
people
And
like
book too.
myself
Yeah.
that have it on their TBR will pick it up in the audio, because sometimes we find that easier than to fit
Yeah.
time in for that. So
Yeah. And some people also hold off until the second book is out as well. So, I need to get my butt into gear and get that happening.
yeah, there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, I don't want to read for this series," and I sort of think, I understand it, but you're gonna be waiting like 10 years,
Yeah.
you know.
There are so many series out there. And I grew up waiting for these massive series to be written and finished. Like I waited for each book release of Wheel of Time. It's like in between, I was reading tons of other stuff. There's so much to read. I can wait. Actually, maybe not now, but back then, my retention of the stories that I'd read was really good. So I
Yeah,
was able to pick things up and remember what had happened last time. Maybe not every detail, but enough that I could keep going.
yeah. Well, I'm just completely lost. I read so many
Have
books.
you?
Like when I'm
It's
reading
all
it,
right. I am writing What's Gone Before for the front of book 2.
yeah, yeah. You said that to Thomas Howard Riley. He said you've got to write when you send me this for beta reading. You've got to write a book. What came before, because I don't have time to read the 700-page book again. That was a year
Yeah,
ago. I mean, when I'm reading it, I can remember it, and once I've gone back into the book, and like it might take me, 5 or 6 pages, but I'll go, oh yes, okay, I remember where I was now. I do keep notes, and I remember back when I was reading John Gwynn's Malice, and I literally made a glossary of my own of all the characters and all their relations. Nowadays, I'm actually much better now. I don't need that, and I've kind of grown out of that as a kind of like a stabilizer kind of thing. Like I've taken the wheels off. I just kind of immerse myself in the world, and generally I can pick up where I'm going and where and the
yeah,
characters. But if I leave a book for a little bit, I do have to jump back into it. And if I haven't read the book in a while and I'm reading the sequel, I do have to kind of work really hard to recall kind of what went
yeah,
before. Um, but yeah,
yeah,
but it's a fun experience. I've got so many worlds in my head. Like, when I'm reading it, I can tell you all about the world. But as soon as I've stopped reading it, I couldn't remember much just because my head's so full of stuff.
Yeah, well, you keep all of that in your RAM when you're reading it, and then
Yeah,
afterwards that gets overridden by the next thing. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely something I enjoy, like picking up new worlds and immersing myself in it and the history.
yeah,
And when authors like cut stuff out, I'm like, I want to read more of that. So, authors like yourself and Thomas Howard Riley, who else? P.L. Stewart and Justin T. Cole,
the yeah,
Jan,
yeah, 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 amazing. Yeah,
that have this amazing level of world building. It's really, really cool. And even, people like Hobb, it's not right up the front, but I'm reading Assassin's Apprentice right now, and there is a lot there, even if it's not
yes,
at the forefront. And I think I'm going to be crucified when I come out with my review because I think it's definitely going to be mixed. So it's taken me a
that's
while
okay.
to read it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, but back to your books, do you just want to
yes.
give us a little kind of elevator pitch, kind of
Oh, elevator
your
pitches.
book?
That's
Yeah.
why I don't have an agent. I can't do elevator pitches. Um, so what have I got in the back? Two brothers, one prophecy, a world in peril. Um, 10,000 years before the start of this book, the summoners had created a civilization that crossed the face of the world. 10 summoners looking for immortality had opened a gateway to the void and um, were tempted by the demon queen there to pledge themselves to her and her demons. Um, and a, what was essentially a civil war between the summoners began. At the end of that war, the summoners were basically wiped out, and humanity that was left to rebuild outlawed summoning. So anybody who is born with the mark of the summoner on their hand or upon whom the mark of the summoner appears later in life are executed, basically without trial. It's instant. But there were prophecies left that said that the demon queen would come again and her demonic lords, and that at the same time that she returns, an emperos, who was the most powerful of the summoners, would be born again and would rise to face her. Um, then we start in the book. It's two half brothers, Kyle and Darian, living on the borderlands. Um, some soldiers go missing, and they go searching for them with the watch and find that some demons have escaped the void. Um, and it's revealed that Kyle and Darian belong to an ancient line of summoners. They are the blood of the spear, and people are then out to get them, and they just want to live their lives and go on the run. But destiny has a way of making things happen, so different things ensue as they go on the run, and they can't, or they have to save themselves before they can start saving the world.
That definitely sounds really exciting. It's definitely my kind of book. It's kind of because I do love those kind of. I am a fanboy for those kind of classic. Come from being a farm boy, and there's a prophecy,
Yeah,
and then they kind of have to go outside their world and experience a new world. I do kind of love that. I mean, like we said, we
yeah,
got John Gwynne, Ryan Cahill, then you got Janny. That not quite that, but it's a
it's that.
very traditional fantasy.
Yeah, it is traditional, and it's that thing where it's like you start with the ordinary, and it becomes extraordinary,
Yeah,
right? So it's everyday people who have to overcome their own limitations to fulfill or reach something else, to protect themselves, their loved ones, their homes.
yeah,
Um, so it's that journey. And yeah, there's the tropes of the farm boy who's really a lost prince and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's more that these are ordinary people who get called to something more and have to find that the strength. themselves to face that,
I
and
think
to
it's
see what they can become.
Yeah, I think that's something that we all can kind of not necessarily relate to through experience, but we can kind of understand that, and maybe there's something in us that's kind of yearning for that. I think it's really important.
Yeah, it's aspirational.
Yeah, and I think it's really important as an author to allow the readers kind of latch onto something early on, and by setting it in that very kind of ordinary kind of person, you can go, okay, this person's just like me, and then we're kind of experiencing the world through their eyes.
Yeah,
We kind of go from the ordinary to the extraordinary, and so the
yeah,
reader's kind of going on this parallel journey with the
yeah.
characters, and that's something that I really really love, because it really connects me to those characters. We're experiencing it as they are, and you feel more immersed in it. So I love it anyway.
100%. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I can't get enough of it. So thank you so much for coming on, Mark. It's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you. I know we've been trying to set this up for a while, so I'm so glad we could
Yeah,
find the time that it would work. And
definitely.
it's been wonderful, and I'm looking forward to the future, listening to the audio. And if you haven't seen it, again, there's the cover, and just a reminder that it's from April the 1st, so tomorrow or today, sorry, as you're watching this, there is the indie sale. You can get lots of books, 99 cents. Blood of the Spirit is part of that.
Yep.
So definitely check that out. I think it's really worthwhile. I mean, I've only read the first couple chapters before, but I definitely love the writing and the world that we were immersed into. So I definitely think it's worth 99 cents. Definitely, absolutely nab that. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we finish, Mark, or share
Just
coming up?
thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute blast.
No,
Lovely
it's
to
been
chat with you.
wonderful. I love doing it, and I'll definitely make sure we'll get some group kind of discussions going on, and I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
and it'll be wonderful. So thank you for taking the time out of your evening, I guess.
Yes, it's evening here. Yep.
Yeah. So
Friday night.
a long
Thank
time.
God it's
Friday
Friday.
night,
Got the
Friday
weekend.
night, or is it writing night for you?
Tonight's a relaxed night.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, Friday night.
Yeah. Chill out.
Well, thank you to everyone for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe for more content like this. I got plenty more author interviews and things coming up. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. All links will be down below to Mark's book, to his website, which again is really worth checking out. It's got a glossary, it's got a map. It's a really professional author website. And yeah, once again, thank you, Mark, for coming on, and we'll see you next time.